you're in Florida, but you were in New Zealand whenever you had to do the college admissions process, I believe. Is that right?
Yes.
Yes. And you already talked about the recommendation letter. So what other confusion was there? How was this complicated? What was easy?
Yeah.
Did you consider going to school like somewhere else in the world besides the States? Or and like what was it like?
Well, so yeah, I definitely always considered it. One, in New Zealand, the first year of college is actually free. So my parents were
Wow.
like, "What?" And I was like, I don't know about it yet. Like, well, let's think about it.
Great
One,
incentive, yeah.
yeah, and second, I had missed out on a lot of like American high school like traditions. I didn't get like
Mhm.
senior night. I didn't get
Oh man.
senior prom. I mean, most people didn't now with Corona, but when I was moving into that new environment, I was like, I don't even get graduation. So I was like,
Mhm.
how everyone felt during 2020 with Corona is how I felt in like 2018,
Yeah.
2019, kind of taken away from me without a choice. And so getting to decide on college, I was like, I want that American school feel. Like I missed out
Hmm.
on that. I was like, I'm gonna go to college in the States. One, haven't been to the States in so long. I probably should go back and see family. Two, my parents were gonna be moving soon from New Zealand and I didn't want to be left in a foreign country alone. So I was like, if I'm gonna live somewhere, it should be near family that aren't my parents because they're gonna be staying in that place for
Hmm.
how long they're staying there. And when it came to the process, the process of doing the application, one, right out the bat, I am an American citizen, but I am in an international school. And those two things just do not exist in the
They
college
don't like
application
that.
process. So they're like, well, you're an American student, so you're not an international student. I'm like, no. And they're like, so you're an international student, which means you hold an American visa. You don't hold an American passport. And I'm like, well, I do hold an American passport. So then they're like, we don't know. Figure it out. Like, have fun. I'm just like, okay.
Mhm.
For the process, one, just trying to figure out if I'm international, if I'm just an
Mhm.
irregular student. And then when we figured out, okay, I'm an American, I'm just a regular American student, admission, going into college. Then it comes to
Right.
like the where they're like, where's your high school? Which every military kid probably was like, well, it's not going to be on the list. Like, I don't know what you want from
Yeah,
me.
we know
They're
that.
like,
Yeah.
they're like, select city, select state. And you're like, well, what if I lived in Okinawa, Japan? Like, there is no city,
Mhm.
state. But some things they're really good with like the AP, the APO, the DPO, like all the military addresses. So they'll
Mhm.
do it. But I didn't have a military address. I had an international address. So I'd put in Epsom Girls Grammar School and they'd be like, we can't find your
Jeez.
school. It doesn't, those states don't match. So I'd go to the international one and they were like, okay. And then they want to see proof of my visas and being an international student. And I'm like, I'm an American student. So I had to do
Yeah,
the admission.
complicated.
Yeah, I had to do the admissions process with an actual person. So my admissions counselor, they were like, yeah, don't use our online thing. Like, don't do it automatically.
Yeah.
You'll have to send everything through me. That sounds easy, but then you're working with time zones, different
Oh
like
yeah.
time zone. And then I think Corona didn't hit while I was doing the admissions process, but I'm like in school. So I would send an email to ask a question on like Monday morning. I would get the response Monday or technically Tuesday at like 3 a.m. I would wake up, see the email, reply, and then that process would keep going. So it would take like 2 days to work through
Yeah.
so
Yeah, it's
that
so annoying.
yeah, that in itself is so frustrating, especially New Zealand, I think is like 16-hour difference. So we're like a
Yeah.
whole day ahead of the States, but like on the opposite, like day and night time. And so that was frustrating.
The
What's frustrating,
utmost inconvenience. Yeah.
I had that same problem with scholarships too. Not didn't graduate from American high school, not an international student.
Yeah.
Scholarships were kind of a dead end for me. The only thing I really got was like the military scholarship for just being a military kid.
Mhm.
But for the most part, like no one really wanted to out when we're like, you don't meet our credentials. And I was like,
Yeah.
uh, like yes, I do. You just don't want to like open your eyes to the matter that I am. For
Just because I
teachers,
don't check your box. Yeah.
yeah, I was like, I check all your box and then some. So like, just look at it. Like, just don't look at it. As for teachers, what was frustrating is I was using this online platform. I don't remember what it was called, but where you can do all your applications at once and then send them to your
Mhm.
college, which I didn't know at the time wasn't going to work for me. And when you do that, you require like your grades. And so I had to contact Mr. Kasner and was like, hey, Mr. Kasner, I don't know if you know me.
Wonderful, yeah.
I was like, I need my high school transcripts from Okie. And he was such a blessing. He was like, yep, sure, here you go. Gave it to me in one smooth swing. And I was
Great.
like, but then it came to like needing references from certain teachers. And I had just started, actually, maybe I had just ended my junior year of high school. Don't remember. But I had teachers who I had like just met. Like I had just started their class. I was like, can't ask them. I ended up figuring it out. I think I had like a good mix of like some teachers from Okie and some from my school. But then when it came to like wanting official documents, ooh, this is so funny. New Zealand doesn't do like official documents. They don't even know what a transcript is. So when you say transcript, they're like, what do you want from me?
How do they keep track?
It was very hard. And so they were like, do you mean your NZQA record? And I was like, I don't know. Is that what my grades are? And they're like, yeah. Also, grades are different. Grades aren't A, B, C, D, F. They're achievement, merit, and excellence. So when I say grades, they don't even.
Those all sound good.
Yeah, I know, right?
That is so deceiving.
Yeah, achievements like you did great, but you could have done better. Merit's like you got a merit, like woo, and then excellence is like you're just too smart for us, like get out of here. But so you don't even call them grades, you don't call them a transcript. So one, I'm speaking to people who speak English and they're not understanding me, which is the frustrating part. Yeah. I also needed it to be official, so I needed them to send it to my colleges, and they didn't want to do that because in New Zealand it is not illegal, but it's frowned upon for someone to send my official records directly to a school. The way they do it is they send it to me and I check the record to make sure it's my record, and I send my records out. If you think about it like medical records, you don't have to go send your medical records out. They give them to you and then you go and do what you want. So they were kind of frowning upon that, and they were like, well, we can't really send your official one. We can make a different one that's okay for us to send out. And I was like, this better work.
What does that mean? Yeah,
they had to like take some information off that was considered like private or needed to be third, but I'm like, I'm telling you it's okay. Like the person who's on the record is telling you it's okay. And I had one moment where the teacher who was sending my official documents out couldn't figure out how to work the system, where I sent like an email to them that said, open up an email, make an account, and put the record in. Like it was, to me, seemed pretty easy. And I actually sat at his computer. I don't know if I should say this, but I sat at his computer, made his account for him, went onto his computer, found my documents, put them in, and then hit submit to my school. And I was like, if my school saw me right now, would probably be like, no, we can't take you.
Sometimes you just got to do it yourself. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I did a lot of maneuvering. It was pretty funny. And another thing, we're probably going to get into the topic, but since the school years are different, I actually graduated on a different time. Because if you think about it, they started in January and everyone graduates in like June, kind of, like only half of our year. So I was dealing with that also. It's really difficult.